Good morning, the internet, and welcome to a Get Ready with me. I feel like it's been a minute since I last did one of these, and I figured that this would be a good opportunity to kind of introduce the people who actually watch me to sort of the direction that I want to take the channel, the types of things that I'm interested in. Also, I want to reintroduce some of the products that I picked up at that iKate House haul video, and show you how they're working, let you know my thoughts on them, and then do a wear test on a couple of them. I haven't had an opportunity to wear the velvet lippies because it's really hard to wear blue lipstick to work. Somehow I don't think my boss would approve of that, and he's a pretty forgiving boss. So anywho, I will be doing this video, putting on some makeup, talking to you, and then I will take some pictures, check back in later, just to let you know how things turned out. Let's get started. So I went ahead and I did my morning skincare routine. I moisturized with the Ultra Repair Cream from First Aid Beauty, and I went in with my face products because, to be completely honest, I attempted to film this while I was putting stuff on, but I hit the 25-minute mark and I'd only gotten this far and I was getting a little sassy. So I decided that I was going to nix that one and start over. For primer, I used the L'Oreal Magic Perfecting Base. I love this stuff. This was the first primer that I ever tried. First primer ever. I didn't start wearing makeup until I was until like 2013, 2014 time frame. A coworker who is way more into makeup than me gave this to me to try out because she knew I had no idea what I was doing, and I love this. It is so silky smooth. It's one of those primers that just fills in all your pores, makes your skin soft and smooth and perfect. And like, when I first got, not this one, obviously, every purchase since, but when I first got it, I would literally just put it on because it had that blurring effect, just to be able to walk around and not see as many imperfections. Like, even if I didn't put on anything else that day, this stuff is amazing. So, Mag Dog, thank you. Moving on. So, this you will recognize from the iKate House haul. So this is the Jordana Complete Cover 2-in-1 Concealer and Foundation. Despite the name, I have found that this is rather light to medium coverage. I haven't tried using it as a concealer. It's a little bit buildable, but it just starts to look kind of weird. So this is good for, light coverage days, in my opinion. I found that it works best when used paired with a silicone primer, and this is kind of a slippery formula, so I would think that combining a slippery foundation with a slippery primer would just result in my makeup falling off my face. But as long as I set it with like a translucent powder before I go on about my day, it actually holds up a lot better than this does by itself, or with non-silicone primers. So, pro tip, this silicone primer, powder, good to go if you want light coverage and something that's relatively comfortable. Then I went in with the Absolute New York Radiant Cover Concealer. It's supposed to be a lifting, brightening type concealer. This is a rather thin formula. It reminds me a lot of the e.l.f. HD Lifting Concealer that I'm currently almost out of. I am scraping the sides with a concealer brush at this point. So that thing is on its last legs. It does not have long for this world, and this is pretty much the replacement for it. Again, it's a really light formula, and it goes on easily, it blends out easily, it seems to work with whatever foundation I pair it with minimal issues, and I like it. I mean, It's not too heavy. I don't have many problems with it, you know, caking under my eyes, whether I set it or not. Like, technically this stuff has been on for almost an hour and it's still pretty much fine. So, I use powder blushes and contours and bronzers and that sort of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and set my face now so that I don't have any issues. So for powder, I'm going to be going in with the Revlon Photo Ready Translucent Setting Powder. I want to open this and show you, but it's pretty much done. Like, I had to break it up. I didn't bother repressing it because I don't have a problem using loose powders, but I had to break it up. So there's powder all over the pan, and if I were to open it and tilt it, the powder would get everywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and not do that. Oh God, it's happening. Get back in. God, maybe I should have repressed it. It's okay. It's okay. Crisis averted, I got it back in. Okay. So that was fun. Starting under the eyes. It does, I don't know how well you can see it in the viewfinder, it looks like it has a white cast when you first put it on, but as you buff it out it's fine. But obviously I am of a lighter skin tone. Revlon does have other shades in their setting powder, so I really like this and I would recommend it. But obviously you want to make sure that you find a shade that's going to work for your skin tone. Okay, so face is set. I'm gonna go ahead and jump around actually. Instead of just diving into more face products, I'm gonna go ahead and do brows because that is gonna be using another Absolute New York product that I had received in the iKate House haul. It's the Slim Eyebrow Pencil in the shade Pecan. So we're going to go ahead and do some brows now. Okay, so this brow pencil has the spoolie on one end and the really fine twist up product on the other. I have historically not been a fan of these micro brow pencils, simply because I feel like the cost versus the amount of product you're getting is just ridiculous. My go-to is usually the GRWM New York brow pencil. It's just a typical sharpenable pencil, and those things, I mean, I can use them every day and they last me a while, and I mean, I control the tip, how thin it is, how sharp it is, so I can fill in my brows really quickly or get the small hair-like strokes depending on what I need. So I like those, but it was a really good sale on iKate House, so I wanted to try this out just to see what it was like and how it compared to the NYX micro brow pencil. And so far I feel like this is a little creamier. The couple of times that I've worn it, I haven't noticed any smudging or any issues like that, but it is creamy. It is easy to get on, so that's nice. It's I feel like with the NYX pencil, it kind of dragged a little bit, and I feel like this is a warmer tone. Okay, so brows are done. I'm going to go ahead and prime my eyes with the Lorac Behind the Scenes eyeshadow primer, and then I'm going to get into eyeshadow. I want to primarily use the C'est La Vie Love You Dearly palette. If you watched my Natasha Denona Tropic palette dupe video, I just put up, and I had some swatches and the shades that I felt most exemplified the Tropic shades posted to my Instagram. But if you saw that, you'll notice that the C'est La Vie Love You Dearly palette actually fulfilled like 3 of the really colorful shades, in my opinion. That was the closest match. So, I don't know, it's a palette that I don't use very often, but it does have some nice shades in it, and I really need to get more use out of it. So we're going to be using that today. Before I throw on eyeshadow, I'm going to be lining, tight lining with this Ulta Beauty gel pencil. This is in the shade Peacock. I really like the Ulta Beauty gel liners. They remind me a lot of the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On pencils, just because of how smooth and creamy and easily they apply. I've noticed that contrary to assumptions, these actually smudge a little bit less than the Urban Decay ones do on me. So I find that interesting. These are way cheaper and they come in a bunch of shades, and I really like them. So I have this Peacock's kind of a blue-green and a bunch of other shades, and I love them. So I'm going to quickly tight line and then we'll get into the eyeshadow, and I will get into kind of some of the other points of my video. Okay, so tight lining is done. I truly believe that anyone who can get a pencil in their upper and lower lash line, like waterline, without holding their eye is a wizard and needs to be studied. I can't do it. Just saying. So, putting that down, moving on. So the dupe post that I did was actually really enlightening. I did not realize how many different shades I really had to work with. I'm always thinking in terms of, do I have, this color? Do I need to buy a single? This or that? But really going through my palettes, I realized just how much variety I do have, and even within individual colors, just how much I have to work with. So I'm not going to say that I'm going to get on a no buy or anything crazy like that. I definitely feel like I need to be more selective, especially when it comes to eyeshadows, what I purchase in the future. So anytime I see a palette that really draws me in, I'm going to sit down and take the time to search my collection and figure out, do I already have this? I might not always film those, but I definitely would like to do more of those dupe it within my collection type videos. I intend to do it differently than a lot of beauty gurus. A lot of times they're looking at single shadows, but that still means you have to go out and purchase something. So my goal would be to use palettes that I already have. While I don't have a lot of mainstream big brand palettes, I do have a lot of their dupes, in some cases exact dupes. So I feel like if I can match it there and I can make the suggestion, if someone is interested, they can look at their palette and make the decision, is that close enough? Is that the right shade? Do I need this new palette, or does the ABH Modern Renaissance have what I need in it, or the Prism palette, or the Metal Matte palette, or what have you. So I definitely want to do more of those type videos. And I'm noticing that it's getting darker because the sun. Thanks, sun. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've turned on my ring light just so that there's a stable light source, hopefully. Anywho, moving on. So definitely want to do more about, duping palettes and using what I have, shop my stash type stuff, in my own way. Another thing that I want to get into is I really want to delve into the legality of a lot of these dupe palettes. I work in law. That's my day job. I am a paralegal. I typically work in nonprofit law firms. I've been specifically with legal aid for a little over a year and a half here in our current location, and actually 5 years in our previous location. So I've done everything from grant work to consumer law and foreclosure defense, and most recently Social Security disability claims. But really, when it comes down to it, I'm interested in all sorts of areas of law. And I remember specifically not enjoying intellectual property law in school, but I would like to do more research and find out how a company can make an exact copy of the Kat Von D metal matte palette, down to the packaging, like the back of the box saying, and then you use tattoo liner. And how exactly does Kat Von D not have lawyers that deal with that stuff? Granted, it's not a palette that's currently available, to the best of my knowledge. If you didn't buy it, it was limited edition. Correct me if I'm wrong. But even still, it's her intellectual property, her brand's intellectual property. You would think that they would have a huge law firm on retainer to sue the pants off of anyone who turns around and tries to literally make an exact copy and sell it for a fraction of the price. I bought the Oakland natural matte palette. It's exactly the same. The shade names and placement are the same. The packaging's the same. The font is the same. Like, it's an exact replica, and I don't understand how that's legal. So I kind of want to do that research and find out, and then come back, and if people are interested, make a video about that. Because there's definitely a difference between inspired palettes, like a lot of what like Makeup Revolution does, and even Bad Habit Beauty. It's a dupe, but it's not an exact dupe. You know what I mean? They're not taking the shade names and the shade placement. They at least change up the packaging to be something of their own. They change up the shade names to be something of their own. They change up the configuration. They change things so it's not clearly the exact same palette. And I think from a consumer standpoint that it must be really confusing, especially for people who go, well, the Kat Von D thing doesn't exist anymore, it isn't sold anymore, but here's this palette that looks exactly like it and it's much cheaper. Is it the same thing? I don't really understand how that's legal. So anywho, moving on. That is something that I definitely want to get into more, and if people are interested, I'd love to do a video on it. Okay, another kind of research project, educational thing that I would like to do would be to get into the practice of private labeling, trying to understand, what the process is, why some companies opt to do it, and most importantly, I think from my standpoint, how to spot products that are private labeled, so not created by a specific brand. They're created in a factory, they're purchased by the brand, they have their name stamped on them, and they sell them as their own. This is especially annoying for me because in doing this indie brand review series, I am looking for companies that are creating their own stuff, because I want to showcase that sort of natural talents. That's what's most important to me in this series, and I've already purchased a palette that is for sale in multiple retailers, the exact same palette. I mean, I'm not going to be arrogant enough to say I know for a fact they purchased this from the same factory in China and now they're selling it as their own. Okay, I don't know that for certain, but I feel more likely than not that if palettes, especially multiple palettes, have the exact same configuration, same shades, same everything, same packaging, and they're being sold by more than one retailer, that they all came from the same place. Like, I feel that that is not an unreasonable assumption. So I kind of want to get more into the practice of private labeling, how to spot it, and mostly just to get more information out there because I did not know this was a thing. And after I saw 2 palettes that looked exactly the same, one of which I owned, one of which I did not, at 2 different retailers, I started looking around and I stumbled across Stephanie Nicole's video on private labeling where she kind of explains the process. And I can link that video just so that if you're curious, you can click on it. You can get more information. She focuses mostly on Morphe and Crown Brush. It is clearly prevalent in more than just those brands. So I want to get into that a little bit more. And then finally, I'm interested in looking into kind of what the process is for the FDA to classify individual cosmetic ingredients as safe in specific uses. So, I mean, you have your general use products that are face, eye, lip safe. They're not known to cause a problem. You have your external use products where you can't have them touching a mucous membrane, so you can't have them on your lips, but you could use them on your skin. And then there are certain ingredients that can't be used on the eye or lip. You can use them in your hair, for instance, or on an area that it's not likely that you're going to take it into your body. So I kind of want to know what the difference is between those classifications, and I kind of want to get into that because just because an ingredient is FDA certified for use in cosmetics does not mean that it is certified for use in cosmetics everywhere. That's a really important distinction, and I think that it needs to be made and it needs to be understood. Just because someone says that their product is FDA certified does not necessarily mean that you can wear it as a lipstick. It might only be certified for external use, or you know what I mean? So I want to get into that a little bit more. And I'm hoping that people would find these topics interesting and like to watch videos on them, because it is something that interests me. I like research. I love research. I'm a giant research nerd. So the idea of doing research and putting together the information that I've gathered into a video that could be used to disseminate information is something that I'm very, very interested in doing. So those are just some of my ideas of directions to take the channel. Obviously, I still want to do things like the indie brand review. I still would like to do things like the Get Ready With Me's. And I don't really want to change the things that I'm doing now. I just sort of want to add a more educational aspect to the content that I'm creating, because that's something that I care about when I'm watching Beauty Girls. I want to learn something, whether that's learning how to put on eyeshadow better, or learning how the beauty machine works. It's something that I'm interested in. So I hope that you would find that interesting too. If it's something that you might be inclined to watch, or if you have other suggestions of things that you would like to hear more about, please let me know. I can look into it and let you know if that's something that I feel like I'd be able to do. Okay, I'm going to add one more color to this eye look. I'm going to take a black shade to the outer corner just to deepen it up a bit, and then I'm going to move on to mascara. Okay, so finished up the eyeshadow, took black around the outer corner, under my lash line, and I don't know, I'm happy with this. I think it's an interesting color. No complaints here. So now I'm going to go in with CoverGirl Plum Crusher. Plum Crusher. Okay, mascara is on. Now back to the face. So oldie but goodie, NECA K New York Contour Duo. I have not been super into contour. Like, I'm still doing it, but I don't care as much. I've switched to the lighter shade. I've already hit pan in the darker one, but I switched to the lighter shade, and I guess I'm just not going as heavy-handed as I was before. And I don't really know what's triggered that change. It's not like I'm spending less time doing makeup in the morning, so it's not really making much of a difference in my daily routine. I don't know, going in with a lighter color and not putting so much emphasis on being chiseled and all of that good stuff. I guess that's the way I'm leaning now. The only downside is this lighter color is a little bit orange. That's why I preferred just using the lighter hand with the darker color. It's one of two shades. I'm going to use it. Unless I get just totally sick of it, in which case I won't use it, and that'll be that. Okay. Keep it from getting down too far. Now, blush. I think I'm going to do something a little unconventional. So in the last Ipsy, we got this Butte Basics foiled eyeshadow. I got the shade Sweet Taffy. I don't need a giant pan of foiled eyeshadow. I guess this wouldn't be too difficult to depot. I don't know, it's like a solid piece of plastic. I'm thinking if I can maybe use this as a blush, I might just do that, because it's reminding me a lot of the So Susan Cosmetics Universal Blush. This one is just maybe a little bit more corally. Okay, so there was a brief intermission. My spawn came down and needed food, and my husband called, and I needed to get something to drink. My dark green, lovely, drinky thing is tea. It is kratom tea, and a couple of years ago there was a bunch of stuff on the news. The DEA wanted to ban it, and the FDA hadn't done any tests, and everybody lost their collective shit, and ultimately it's a leaf from Indonesia that gets ground up and made into tea. It has anti-inflammatory properties. It's a member of the coffee family. It can help you stay awake. It can help reduce pain, as I said, anti-inflammatory properties. So I drink it because I have chronic pain, and this helps me cut down on all the ibuprofen that was slowly boring a hole in my stomach. So just figured I'd share, since I'm sitting here swirling my awful looking drink, and it's really hilarious. Every time my boss sees it, he's just like, I don't know what it is, but I hope it's healthy, because God, it looks terrible. It's not. It's really not that bad. I mean, just like anything else, if you go eat like a dry leaf raw, you're gonna hate it, but tea, not that bad. Moving on. So, when I left off, I was just about to use this foiled eyeshadow as a blush, because why not, right? I don't know if this is the right tool for the job. I'm going to go ahead and try a stippling brush. This is probably definitely the wrong tool for the job, but I feel like it works really good for my cream products. Let's just see if this keeps me from picking up way too much. This is about to be funny. That's actually not that bad. Yeah, I'm not hating that. So, believe me when I say I would never use this as an eyeshadow. It would literally never get used. Even if I managed to depot it somehow and get it into my palette, it would probably still never get used. But as a blush, It's compact, it's the right size for me to throw it in my makeup bag. Gives me an excuse to use my e.l.f. stippling brush. It is okay in my book. Okie dokie. Last on the list, well, two last things, lips and setting spray. So, I'm going to be trying out the Velvet Lippie in Lagoon. This was one of the ones that I believe worked pretty well. This and the black shade were the two best when I was swatching these for the haul video. So, see how this goes. I mean, it doesn't totally match the eye look, but I don't hate it. Alright, last on the list, Hard Candy Setting Spray. This is their Sheer Envy Matte Setting Spray. Controls oil, minimizes pores. 12-hour long wear and hydration. Gonna give it a try. I tried it yesterday at work and it actually made a difference. But you know what? That could have been a fluke. I used a different foundation and we'll see. We'll see. So I'm gonna do this. Okay. So we'll see how this holds up. It is almost 1 o'clock right now. This has taken way too long. And I will check back in let's say 6 hours. I feel like 6 hours is fair. So, right now. And we'll see what I look like when we get back tonight. Okay, so here we are. It's the end of the day. It is dark. And this is my final check-in. So, as you can see, the Velvet Lippie by Absolute New York is completely gone, but I actually took it off. We are at 9 hours now. Basically, the 4-hour mark, it stayed about like that going forward. And after dinner, all of that, I have a tendency to bite my lips absentmindedly. So that is ultimately why I had to remove it, because I had outer color, but everywhere that I had my teeth on, color was gone. So didn't really make sense. Wasn't a fair test at that point. When it comes to the foundation, you can see it 2 hours and then 4 hours. It's a little shiny, but it's not terrible. It's definitely making a difference, I would say, having the Hard Candy Setting Spray. This is the second time that I've used it. I did notice that it kind of kept down oil a bit with the e.l.f. foundation that I was using yesterday. And today with the Jordana, it did a pretty good job of not completely keeping me matte, but definitely stopping at least some of the oil from breaking up my makeup. You can notice that, especially around my nose, this bottom half of my face, it's broken up, it's, rubbed off, it's not the best, but I'm overall pretty happy with it. The 2 check-ins that I did, I hadn't blotted at all prior to taking those pictures. At the 4-hour mark after I took the pictures, I went ahead and blotted to try and preserve as much of the foundation as possible for the rest of the day. But prior to that, I hadn't, and under normal circumstances, if I wasn't doing a wear test, I would be blotting every, 2 hours or so. I believe it's making a difference, but I've only used it twice, so I'm going to keep using it throughout the week, and if my opinion changes, I will definitely say something, let people know, but as of right now, I'm happy with it. I think it works. So it's nice to find an inexpensive setting spray that actually helps keep me matte. As for the Lippie, the problem with these Velvet Lippies is they're kind of patchy to begin with. You're not getting a smooth, even application. So I wasn't really expecting it to last as well as it did. I feel like it faded fairly gracefully. It did get patchier as the day went on, but I mean, it's a cream, it's not a liquid lipstick that's supposed to dry down completely, and I think it held on pretty well. I didn't reapply it all during the day. Under normal circumstances, I would be reapplying. It is a cream product, so it's going to layer fairly well. In terms of the wear test side of the house, those are my findings. Yay, setting spray, Velvet Lippies from Absolute New York. So, I hope that you have a wonderful day or night, depending on when you're watching this, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.